What up, people? It's your boy Chick from Goon Evil Eye coming to again with something a little bit different. This time it's to preview a boxing match, Dillian Whyte versus Lucas Browne. Now, if you're a long-time fan of me, you'll know this. New-time fans of me might be like, what the fuck? Boxing? I love boxing. I really like UFC. I've started to get into UFC kind of late, I admit. But I started to like UFC as well. Don't worry, I'm not necessarily going to start previewing UFC fights like I'm some sort of expert. But there's one thing I've always loved almost as much as Arsenal is boxing. I'm a massive boxing fan, always have been. I grew up on the eras of the Eubank Senior versus Nigel Benn era, the Frank Bruno era, all that type of shit. So, you know, I've been a big boxing fan for a long, long time. Many of you guys know that I first started being an Arsenal fan because of my mum. I also got into boxing because of my mum. There are countless times where, you know, my mum used to regularly make me go to bed around 8 or 9 o'clock. The few times that I used to be able to get away with it was on a Saturday night and Chris Eubank was fighting late, or Nigel Benn was fighting late, or Frank Bruno was fighting late, although my mum didn't particularly like Frank Bruno. Sorry, Frank. Those are the few times that I was allowed as a kid to watch boxing quite late. And I've been thinking for a while, as you guys know, if you follow me on Twitter, at Colossal Chick, quick plug, that I've been wanting to kind of branch out the channel and do different things and potentially set up my own channel. And a lot of people said to me, well, why don't you just do a boxing kind of section for the people that are already subscribed to you? Because I guess what I kind of underestimated was actually there are a lot of football fans who are boxing fans. And, you know, I may not look it, I accept I may not look it, but I love sports. I love sports. Very knowledgeable about sports in general. There's rarely a sport that I don't know something about or a little something about. The boys will tell you. Any of my ex-girlfriends will tell you. My current girl will tell you. I love Sky Sports News. I love it. It's my favorite channel. So much so because I just get all my information that way. Another thing I like, for example, is F1. Massive F1 fan. And of course, Lewis Hamilton's my boy. Killing it, got himself another pole. But anyway, I digress. I feel I'm losing you, so let me stick to the point at hand. Dillian Whyte versus Lucas Browne. Now, I'm hoping if you're watching this video, you know a little something about the two. Both are very controversial figures in their own right. Both have been, shall we say, have violated various drug rules and had various incidents that have led up to certain bans and sanctions that have been raised against them. But this is an interesting fight with two fighters who are at different points of their career. First of all, you look at Lucas Browne, an Australian guy, big brute of a man, very, very strong, very, very big puncher. If you count it, and if you count that bout, and there's no reason necessarily why you should, he's a former world champion. And the only reason he lost his world title strap was because of his second failed drug failed drug test, I should say. And he's been banned from the sport for a long time, is recently looking to make his comeback. And he goes into this fight against Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte, who, if we're being honest, hasn't looked amazing in his last couple of fights. He just hasn't. I thought the Chisora fight was a fantastic fight. Had no reason to be that good, but I thoroughly enjoyed it and was definitely probably just after Klitschko Joshua and maybe Canelo versus GGG. Probably my third favorite fight of last year. It was a very, very good fight. And I think it poses a different test for Dillian, you know? That fight was so good with Chisora. But to be honest, if we're being real, why was it that close? You should have absolutely annihilated Chisora. And some people, even today, believe Chisora won that fight. I gotta be honest, kind of one of them. It was a very, very close fight, but I had Chisora up by 1 round. I think Dylan's going to need his best performance in a long, long time to beat Brown. That being said, I believe he'll win this fight. And the reason I think he'll win this fight is, for me, the most crucial part of this boxing match will be the first 5 rounds for Lucas Browne. You know, he's big, he's lumbering. I don't particularly think he's in great shape. But one thing he's always been very good at doing is the first 3-4 rounds of a fight and the last couple of rounds of a fight, he tends to be very dangerous. And that's what big punchers do. You know, they use all their energy up at the start of the fight. The middle rounds is where a boxer tends to get busy. And then the latter rounds is where the boxer needs to be clever. And Dillian needs to be clever in this fight. I think Browne has to knock him out in order to beat Whyte. And I think he knows that. I think for him, if he beats Browne, he's called in this, sorry, if he beats Whyte, he's called in this before, he sees Dillian Whyte as the gatekeeper. And he believes that by beating the #1 contender, remember, Dillian's got a lot to lose here. He's a #1 contender virtually for Deontay Wilder's title. So a loss to Lucas Browne would be absolutely devastating here. Nevertheless, I do believe that Dillian Whyte has enough to get himself through this fight. I see it being quite a cagey opening round. Second round, third round, I see the fight exploding into life a bit. Then I see Dillian being a bit cute, working the body shots, being very cute on the inside, clever on the outside. Though I think Dillian needs to make this fight a long fight. And by that, I mean use his jab, get behind his jab, not necessarily get on his bite, but just use different angles and different variations that Lucas Browne won't. I think with the proviso that he does all that, I fully expect this to be a comfortable, a very, very comfortable Dillian Whyte win. Anyway, guys, you let me know what you think in the comments down below. First of all, let me know if you even want me to do this type of thing. If you like this boxing preview, let me know. Is there any fight that you would want me to preview in the next up and coming weeks? I will be doing the AJ preview next week anyway, just because it's a massive fight. Whether you're a boxing fan or not, let's be real, you're going to be watching it. So I will be doing that preview. But obviously, if you guys don't really like this, then I'll jack it in. I'm listening to you guys. You guys are the fans. You guys are important. So let me know in the comments below. And who do you think will win? Do you think Dillian Whyte will win? Do you think Lucas Browne will win? Let me know in the comments below. All right, people, I'm out of here.